It's showtime. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Ooh, let's go racing today, boys.
Watson takes a snap, rolls right, looks in the end zone. Hunter in front, caught it! Touchdown! Touchdown!
It's now my honor to announce that the first ever virtual NFL draft is officially open.
Blitz coming. Mariota throws in the end zone. Man is there. Touchdown, Titans!
I'm hopeless in the crossfire. There's nowhere to go. I'm holding my desires. My heart overflows. The only
I don't know how you get up that early.
Oh, Lord. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Experts of Racing Sportscast here live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. This is a very special episode. As you can see, it's not the usual setup we've had. We've changed it up a little bit as well with a great set of guests that we have here as well. And, of course, Jerry always going off as always. So, I mean, we know how that's going to be. But definitely happy to be here. It's a little later than usual for this special and stuff like that, but still happy to have the guests we have. Already few viewers out in chat. Hopefully that bumps up a little bit, but either way, still love having you guys out there. Still love the support that you show us. And right now, gonna go ahead and introduce the rowdy one that's in here. Terry, you know, you're coming in here. I know you're feeling a little happy about something we'll get into later, but how are you feeling this for us Friday evening, but Saturday morning for you?
Well, I'm finally awake. I ain't groggy and shitty and pissy for being up at 7:30 in the morning, but got me a shower and a monster and got a fat old dip in, ready to fuck this podcast up.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, well, there's the F word we have for once. Okay, and then you hear the laughs and the background noise in the back. This is Chrissi and Dev from the Fast Lap podcast. Happy to have them joining us. They gave us a lot of advice on what to do moving forward and stuff like that to be able to become more successful because their podcast has blown up, and they recently sat down, or I don't know how recent it was, but I know that it was a big listen for me and Terry when they sat down with NASCAR Cup champion spotter Eddie DeHunt. But, of course, Chrissi and Deb, welcome to the podcast. We love having you.
Hi. Thank you.
Hi, thanks.
That was such a nice intro. You had me blushing.
Oh, Lord.
I'm like,
About to
really?
say,
Okay.
Terry's already over here just laughing because he knows he's about to raise some hell.
Well, I guess we could start it here. You know, we all did the Super Bowl watch party.
I already changed the graphic for it. Go ahead.
There's a certain somebody that's in this chat that's right here talking, and
Robert's not here. What?
No, I'm talking to you. You're the one that said that Tom Brady was not the GOAT. And I said that when Tom Brady does what Tom Brady always does, which is
game manage,
he fucks defenses up. He does the right thing. He's awesome across the board. He's a 7-time Super Bowl champion, and you still disrespect him. So I'm waiting on you to hear your dirty little mouth say that Tom Brady's the GOAT. Go ahead and fill our audience in on how Tom Brady's the GOAT, and how he's touched your life.
All right, you're gonna hear how sarcastic. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Tom Brady, the 7-time, say it with me, Terry, 7-time Super Bowl champion. He did it on the Patriots. He did it on the Buccaneers. He dominated. But the one team he has always led was the referees, and I love it. I love it. I love it.
I have to say something. I hate to burst your bubble, but
Here
you know
we
the
go.
one team he couldn't beat was the New York Giants.
Oh my God!
You had to have known when she
I just
said
hair
earlier.
flipped that, but you couldn't see it.
You have had to have known whenever she said earlier she was a Giants fan. I knew that was coming. I didn't say nothing.
How could I not?
Because I knew that was coming. Because everybody's saying that Tom Brady is Patrick Mahomes' dad. Let's remember, if Tom Brady is Patrick Mahomes' dad, that means Eli Manning is Patrick Mahomes' grandfather. Okay? Let's just...
Oh. Hey, they're about the same age technically.
Oh Lord, still.
I know figuratively.
You've lost your gizzard if you want to sit here and tell me that Tom Brady's not the GOAT and that he paid the refs. You're out of your mind. You're completely.
I didn't say he paid the refs. I don't know what he did to the refs, but somehow they're always on his side.
Whatever.
I'm just saying, with the team, there was only one team that had only, I think it was over 50 penalty yards twice in the single season. It was the Chiefs. They gave up 80 in the first half of the Super Bowl. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I mean that's kind of shady. But I mean we do have a Ravens fan I know in here as well.
Oh God, really?
Oh boy.
Yes. I'm from Maryland. That's not an excuse, okay?
Well, no, because you're going to like this because Terry just so happens to be a Tennessee Titans fan.
Oh God.
Lighten up.
So this is what you were talking about, Terry. I was curious, but I didn't want to get into it.
You're a Penguins fan. I'm a
Someone's in the
fan.
grass.
You're a Ravens fan. I'm a Titans fan. And unfortunately, last season we took y'all out of the playoffs, and this season y'all took us out. But whatever.
You know that. All I got to say is that logo maintenance at the field is doing really well. On both sides, I'd say. Terry, how do you feel about that? Hey, Terry,
I didn't see your team making the playoffs. Either.
Neither of them did. In fact, I'm probably jumping ship pretty soon. As soon as Deshaun gets traded.
Yeah, how did your NFL season go? Mine went to the playoffs.
Mine just released J.J. Watt and is hopefully about to trade Deshaun Watson. Hopefully, I go to a good team as well. Wherever Deshaun goes, I'm going.
Yeah.
So I'm
fantastic.
I'm just waiting to see.
Let's chit chat with these ladies real quick. So y'all do your podcast. You can find it on every major platform, especially Apple Podcasts. What influenced y'all to get into podcasts, and what made y'all come together as friends to talk about a common sport?
Well,
this is a great story.
It is. So, just kind of started getting more active on Twitter, and I wanted to be more involved in the NASCAR community because I needed some place to make NASCAR friends because a lot of my friends here aren't. So, anyway, I just randomly started following Deb, and she wrote something about writing an article on NASCAR fans, female NASCAR fans. And we started talking, and we became kind of friendly. And then I just randomly one day was I just got in this mood. I was like, I love talking about NASCAR. I thought about doing a blog, but then I just didn't have the time to sit down and dedicate to making a website and doing all of that because I work full time and I have 2 kids. So I was like, I like talking. Maybe just a podcast would be fun. So I reached out to Deb and I was like, hey, I have this idea. Would you be interested in doing a podcast? And she's like, yes. And so that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. So we never met in person.
Nope.
Everything that we have done has been over FaceTime or Zoom. We've never met. We really never really talked a whole lot until she talked to me about the podcast. And now it's all day, every day. We're constantly voice memoing each other or sending weird videos or pictures or
making playlists
some sort
for each other.
Nonsense or so now it's been out since July, and finally this May we're going to actually meet in person.
That's fantastic. So me and Xpert will meet in August. We played on Xbox together for years. And he hit me up randomly while I was in Korea, and he said, hey, man, let's get into broadcasting together. And I brought him on, and we started broadcasting. He goes, I'm going to start a podcast. And I'm like, that's fantastic. Let's get that going. Let's talk some shit about sports, because we love sports.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool across the board.
I love that you guys haven't met too.
It's so fun.
I think it could be a little more to the left, probably help, but not bad.
It's not that bad.
We rented a whole house.
A whole ass house.
For our first meeting.
An
Like,
Airbnb,
we're not
we're
just
sharing
like
it.
meeting up while we're down there. We're living together for a week for the first time. Eating. We just figured, screw it. We're just going to move in together for a week.
No one's going
Why
to
not?
murder anyone. We're not going to get killed. It's fine.
That's a good way to do it. I'm going to be drunk when I meet Xpert. So.
That literally sounds like the whole like backstory to Party Down South, but Jesus Christ. If you know that show, then you're an OG. If you know that show, then 100.
Oh, man.
We were like, as soon as we get there, we need to go to the liquor store, right? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Legit.
And get you some liquor.
I mean, I'm going to be there. My husband and I are getting there the day before they do. As of now, that was our last discussion. So I might have to pick a couple things up early so we don't have to go anywhere when they get here.
I mean, that might work.
Yeah. We got a great deal on an Airbnb that has like 6 bedrooms, a game room, and it was like less than $100 a night.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy because when I looked at the listing the first time, it was listed at way more than that. And I was like, man, that would have been perfect. So then Deb's like, hey, look at this. And I was like, that's literally the same place, but now it's on sale apparently.
Yeah, we also share the same brain.
Yeah, we've decided.
Yeah, we both have the same breed dog. We both things to each other at the exact same time without any prompting. Like, it's so weird, but it's worked out really well for us because we just kind of get each other.
Yeah, we're both Aquarius, so that's part of it too.
Yeah.
Now we were talking before the podcast started about your love for NASCAR. One of y'all was a lifetime fan, and the other one was kind of like coming into the sport and wanting to learn more about the sport. What's the one thing you see across the sport of NASCAR this season alone, from a ratings perspective, that's going to bring more fans attracted into NASCAR?
Deb, you go first.
As a TV ratings thing?
Yeah, just ratings across the board. What's going to bring more eyes on the sport?
Okay, I think there's a couple things. There's the addition of the new teams, which include Michael Jordan, which is the GOAT. Don't argue with me because I'm right.
Attitude.
And the introduction to Pitbull to owning a team, or partial owning a team as well. And then you have some really awesome female broadcasters that are bringing it this year, and they're really bringing it, like Jamie Little, Hannah Newhouse,
Jesse Punch.
Mm-hmm.
And Caitlin Vincey, hold on. Can we just talk about Caitlin Vincey, who 9 days ago or something had a baby, and she's already back?
Yeah, ultimate badass.
Yep.
Yes. So, all these females coming into the sport, with us being female fans, and we talk about this a lot in our podcast since we're, 2 chicks talking about NASCAR, which you don't see a lot. It really, I think, opens the door for other females to be like, okay, they're accepted.
Maybe it's not a guy's sport.
It's not a guy's sport. It's not, I don't like this driver just because he's good looking.
Mm-hmm. Which is the assumption for all of us.
Or that we don't know anything. So, them coming into the sport, Michael Jordan coming into the sport, I think is going to bring a lot of eyes because he's Michael Jordan. If Michael Jordan likes something, okay, it's good enough for me. I mean, I was a Jordan fan. So, and then Pitbull. You don't expect Pitbull to be involved in NASCAR. But he is, and that's great because I think it's going to bring more eyes and more people who may think that NASCAR is just a, quote, redneck sport, end quote, to see that, hey, we're not a bunch of crazy rednecks. I mean, some of us are, but we're not all crazy rednecks. You're welcome to come to the race. You're welcome to talk to me. Reach out to me on Twitter or anywhere. I'm going to treat you all the same. I don't care. So I think that, you know, those people coming into the sport are going to open a lot of eyes to, you know, this isn't just redneck thing. This can be an everyone thing. We want it to be an everyone thing. So come listen. Come watch. It's fun. You'll love it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in addition to what Deb said, which is absolutely right, there's been a real push for, I think I've seen more advertising for it. I've been hearing more advertising on the radio and stuff that I don't recall hearing before. With all the attention NASCAR got last season, between being the first sport back and, of course, the, you know, everything that happened with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything, like, there's a lot more people that are like, all right, let's see what they are, like, let's continue watching, you know, because it piqued their interest last time. So I think there's a higher advertising rate, at least as far as on social media and stuff. People are trying to get it out there. I think more people are going to see it and they're going to want to watch and see what this is all about. So I don't know. I think they're trying real hard to be open to everyone and attract as many people as they can and say, like Deb said, like, we welcome everyone. And I think they're doing a good job. So
on that side, just bringing in the new fan bases and stuff like that. NASCAR previously, like, in my opinion, like, you can sway, like, you can go out there and say that I'm wrong and go ahead, tear me apart. I give you full on permission because Terry does it all the time. But NASCAR before, I think it was pretty obvious they were trying too desperate to, like, bring in the new generation of fans. I think as soon as they just let, you know, as soon as they just let go of that, I think that's when it finally happened. Especially last year with everything being up in the air, they took chances and they took the right ones. And it wasn't like a desperate attempt for NASCAR to be to try to get fans. It was just NASCAR was saying, we're going to be ourselves, but we're also going to change with the times and make the right steps forward. So, I mean, I feel like that's what they were trying to do moving forward. And I feel like it could, I mean, obviously, I feel like now it definitely worked for them.
yeah, I totally agree.
Bowles is over
like,
here.
I just want us to, like, drop this as, like, from a fan standpoint. Like, I would really just like to be able to drop the stigma of it being put in this box when it's definitely not put in this box. There are so many different people who like this sport and support this sport who are from all walks of life. It's not just Southern rednecks here. And I think that it would be great to get past that finally. And I'm hoping that this year's the year. Last year we made great strides towards that. So hopefully this year it continues and people can be like, okay, it's not just in another left turn, because I get that constantly. Or, oh, I'm this, and this, so NASCAR's not for me.
Yeah. And I mean, that goes along with the same things that NASCAR has even tried to change some of those stereotypes, like the amount of road courses on the schedule is where to get away from that left turn narrative. I mean, it still adds to, you know, NASCAR is still staying, you know, it's keeping one foot in its home, but it's stretching out to other areas and reaching new fans that we haven't been able to reach before. And I think NASCAR now is doing a great job of it compared to previous years. And especially with the movement they've been trying to get to push women. Of course, you know, Danica with that original run to try to be out there and allow women, or like show that women can come into the sport and perform hand to hand with the guys. It didn't necessarily work out with Danica, just with her being uncomfortable with the car, but turning around and with Natalie Decker, who that's still pending, but people like the people that's been backing Haley Deegan, who is making her trucks, I won't say debut, but her full season debut, I will say, actually right now. I mean, it just shows how much NASCAR is backing that as well.
Yeah, and look at Jennifer Jacobs' qualifying run today. It was amazing. Like, you know, it's funny. Like, for instance, when Danica was racing, I was in Dover one year and sat down next to this guy because it was my seat. And I sat down and I was wearing a Junior Motorsports hoodie because I've been a Junior fan for, as soon as he, came into the Busch Series, I was a Junior fan because I've been a fan literally since I was born. I don't remember a time that I wasn't a NASCAR fan. So I sit beside this guy and I'm wearing a Junior Motorsports hoodie because it's a little cold. And he looks at me and he goes, "You must be a Danica fan because you're a girl and she's a girl." And I'm like, what does that have to do with absolutely anything? You have no idea who I am or how long I've been a fan. I've been sitting with my dad since birth watching races every Sunday. No, that's not how you talk to me. And it was kind of shocking because, like, I'd never, ever had a race experience like that. But this guy, who they actually show this dude on TV a whole lot, and I'm not going to out him because, that's rude. But, like, they show this guy on TV a lot when there's fans, and I'm like, if you only knew how rude this guy was in person, you might not show him this much.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely, like, the stereotypes are being thrown out the window now, and I appreciate NASCAR for doing that. There's still, ways to go, I feel like, but just being able to take the right steps forward, especially right now, I think it's done pretty well for itself as well. And you mentioned about Jennifer Jo Cobb. I'm going to try to transition this a little bit because, Deb, you said you wanted to talk about it before. But Jennifer Jo Cobb, you mentioned how good her qualifying run is. To add to that, technically, her qualifying run out-qualified 2 of the 3 RWR cars in the Cup Series. 3 out of the 4 technically, if you count Derek Cope, and this is going to segue directly into what you wanted to talk about. So I know that you wanted to comment on the Derek Cope situation, so the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Okay, so Twitter's been, like, super hot about Derek Cope today and last night, and, like, super angry. Like, he shouldn't be racing. Why is he in a car? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, last night during pre-race, Mikey Waltrip said he lost 50 pounds because he wants to get back in a car. Okay, that's great. If you want to race and you can buy yourself a spot with a charter team who has a charter who doesn't have to race to get in, that's not your fault. None of what Derek Cope is doing this weekend is a result of Derek Cope, except for the fact that he wants to race. And I don't blame him. If I was a race car driver for that long and I wanted to get in a race car and I had the means and the money and the equipment to get in a race car, I'd get in a race car. Heck, I'd go drive Xfinity Series right now if I had a ride. I don't know nothing about it, but hey, I'll get in the car and ride because it'd be fun. So, like, I wish everybody just back off of Derek a little bit because this is not Derek's fault. It's the result of, like, it's not Derek's fault that Noah or Ty or anybody else didn't get in that race. This is the result of the charter system being broken, one team owning way too many charters than they should somehow or another, and them just letting people pay to drive them.
I'm here to show that someone's team.
Or if I will actually do this, I mean, it's a team that doesn't actually put funding into those vehicles at all either. When you're getting out-qualified by trucks, I think that says a lot. And to be able to take up spots that guys like Ty Dillon, and Noah Gregson, I'll even say Garrett Smithly, he impressed me as well. Guys like that end up losing spots in the Daytona 500 because they have to race their way in despite guys that don't even make qualifying runs or can't even out-qualify a truck. I mean, I think that says a lot in terms of what RWR does with their cars and how careless they are about what, NASCAR has been trying to move forward, but in my opinion, this kind of embarrasses the sport a little bit and takes the integrity away.
I feel like they did this charter system to get rid of the starting park, which is fine. You absolutely should not be able to qualify well, start, and then park a car just for some cash. Absolutely not. That's stupid. You should, if you're going to race, you're going to race. But the charter system has created this new sort of evil that, in my opinion, is almost as bad as starting parks, because they may not be parking, but they're certainly not racing with equipment or capabilities that the other teams bring to the table. And those teams who aren't starting parks, but may have a charter, who are, these teams like RWR, they're causing wrecks. They're making mistakes, and those mistakes can affect another driver's day who is actually there trying to be competitive in the sport and not just trying to make money or whatever they're trying to do.
Definitely. And to add on to that, whenever you could possibly take away a spot from a guy like Ryan Preece, who showed out in Daytona, I think 2 years ago in his debut, and was making crazy moves, when he has to race his way in basically the same car he did that in a few years ago, that could be a winning car in the Daytona 500. I mean, we've seen the 47 of his teammate Ricky Stenhouse Jr. have so much speed. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, was on the pole last year, or yeah, he was on the pole last year. So I mean, it's not like those cars don't have speed at these tracks. So, I mean, to say that a car like that could possibly knock him out, I mean, that's embarrassing all the way around, in my opinion.
Well, Expert, the 47 sold their charter to 2311. So they sold their charter off to Michael Jordan's team so Bubba Wallace could race full time. And that was a cash transfer because they knew that the 37 can make it in on time. And there's not going to be 44 cars showing up for the Atlanta race or for the Daytona road course race. So Ryan Preece is probably going to race all season long because he has the speed to do it. So I think if you look at it like that, that team still has points from last season. So they're going to make the field if something happens. Qualifying doesn't happen. It's not like the college 16 that if the 16 didn't make the show, Kaz Grala didn't make it in, which he did, thankfully. AJ Allmendinger is going to be able to race next week because he's going to have points, and not many cars are going to show up to the road course at Daytona. So it's kind of a flimsy system, but that's how they worked it. And to me, I think it makes for better racing because those charter teams that come in, I don't agree that a team like Derek Cope could come in and get lapped at Daytona and lose the draft because he ain't got the speed to keep up. But, that's how it goes, and they're going to run the race, and who knows? He might end up getting a top 5 out of it. You never know with all the wrecks at Daytona.
That's true.
You either lay far back and get totally demolished, like some of the guys did last evening, Anthony Alfredo being one of them, or you lay back, you figure out how far to lay back and avoid it all, and you end up getting a top 5, top 10 out of it. It just really depends on
strategy.
What's going on. Yeah, that's Daytona. That's plate racing. It's been this way for so long. That's not going to change. The only thing changing is the players in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at it from a fan's perspective, they added in dirt, which to me, I think if you look at the dirt tracks, there's so many other tracks that you could have put on the schedule. And I'm not knocking Bristol, and I'm not knocking NASCAR, but you have Knoxville, you have Eldora, you have all these other tracks. Why do you think that the main reason NASCAR put dirt on Bristol, was it because Bristol's already a main attraction for NASCAR fans, or was it something that they were kind of looking at to invest in for later down the road to see how it works at a Knoxville or an Eldora?
It could be that, now that you mention it. I thought
Michael Perry talked about this with us.
Yeah.
On our podcast that we just dropped this morning. And he said it was because they didn't want to put 2 night races at Bristol because the night race in the fall is like a main attraction race, which makes sense. I liked both Richmond night races and I went to both of those, but Bristol's trying to think out of the box here. But he also said that, if you look at Bristol, it's losing fans for that spring race, not the fall race, but the spring race. And instead of making it a night race and maybe losing their fans for the night race because there's 2 of them, they decided to put dirt on it. And that's either going to be for the, fans or NASCAR Twitter world. It's either going to be the best thing ever or what was this? I don't think that there's going to be a medium.
I think I know who might win that race, though.
Yeah, it's either going to be Kyle Larson or Christopher Bell.
Ooh.
I think it's going to be. I mean, Kyle Larson has been thrown out there a lot. Christopher Bell, I think. I mean, in my opinion, that 20 car has so much better equipment than that 5 car. I mean, going into this year, I think it's pretty obvious on that. Looking overall at it, though, I think that we've seen so many different drivers like NASCAR champion Chase Elliott and several other different drivers during the off season. They race so many dirt races and so many different types of style of dirt race. A lot of people said that this could be, one of those races that everybody gets blown out of the water because of inexperience. There's so many guys that's going to either touch back with their roots this off season or try to learn to see how this is. I don't think it's going to be a blowout of any sort as many people suspect.
I think that's like Chrissy's saying, that's a great, take on it. Because people are actually doing a lot with dirt right now.
They see the value in mastering dirt because it's tricky, it's slippery, and it takes a whole nother set of skill. Excuse me. And that was one thing that Chase was very open about, and all the things he ran in his off season was that he's not good at it, but he's there because he wants to be, and he wants to learn, and he wants to keep coming back and get better, because overall any type of racing you can improve on can improve for cup racing. So I think maybe we might even see in the future more guys considering doing some extra racing in the off season instead of just always taking it easy, because it is beneficial. So I don't know.
Especially if you're going to put dirt on the schedule.
Yeah.
If you're going to put dirt on the schedule full time, I'm not going to knock the sim guys here. This is not a knock at all. But I don't think that being a sim racer on dirt directly correlates to how that cup car is going to feel at Bristol on dirt. So I think that you do actually need seat time on a dirt track to fully kind of figure it out.
Definitely. Yep. I can't wait to see how those cars actually run. I always thought I never thought it'd go directly to the Cup Series. At first, I thought it might climb to the Xfinity Series. Of course, with Truck having Eldora, I thought, maybe that it'd climb to the Xfinity Series maybe before they actually tried out with the Cup Series. But they're throwing everything but the kitchen sink at this, and I can't wait to see it. My main thing is, though, Eldora has been such a main attraction. Now Eldora is completely gone. And from what I believe an article dropped like about a month and a half to 2 months ago about Tony Stewart saying he tried to get in contact with NASCAR, but it just never happened. It never materialized. So I mean, what could have happened with that is my question whenever it comes to that.
Yeah, like what kind of fallout between who type thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like Tony Stewart's been the face of, or been one of the faces of the sport for so long, both as a driver and a team owner, and then boom, just disappears.
Yeah, that's interesting. It'll be kind of interesting to see.
I think you look at it too from a different perspective. Like Eldora, I don't think it can fit the Cup Series. I think Eldora doesn't have the pit road capability.
That is true.
It's not going to be able to fit it.
Well, I mean, look at Knoxville and then look at Eldora. I mean, that is virtually about the same size. As far as like seats and then load area.
They would have had to maybe renovate some stands, maybe add a few bathrooms, etc. to Eldora. And I think that was like NASCAR's little thing about not going to Eldora. But all they would have had to do was reach out to Tony Stewart, and Tony Stewart would have made it happen. Like the fact that there was no communication between Tony Stewart and NASCAR about this until it was already said and done shows how much NASCAR does not value what Tony Stewart's bringing to the table. That's kind of sad because he's a champion and he's a hell of a race car driver and he's an owner.
Yep.
I mean, that was the confusing part for me, especially with this whole schedule change, which several different sports have done this with, like trying to change the schedules around so much. We've seen it recently with motocross as well, but also looking at NASCAR, how much these schedules have changed so much. It's been insane just to see the magnitude, there's the right word, of these changes and how it looks. Because I think even with the Indy road course coming in, replacing the actual Indy oval race, I think that's going to be a big change that not many people are. At least I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I'm not looking forward to it.
I'm not looking forward to the schedule change because they've put a lot of the races that I'm having to pick and choose which races I'm going to because I can't go 3 weekends in a row to a NASCAR race. It's just not feasible for me. So, like, that part of it's crappy, but, you know.
You make me feel bad because I'm about to go to 3 in a row. Sorry.
If you look at the change to the schedule, I like what they did. I like that they got off the oval. The oval is IndyCar's home. It's their playground. IndyCar is so synonymous with Indianapolis. To put NASCAR on the road course, not many people tune in to the Indy road course the week before the 500 because it's not a main attraction for IndyCar. So for NASCAR to solidify themselves on the road course, that's going to start a whole new tradition for them. Is okay, we're going to put the race cars out there on the road course and take the eyes off of the oval itself because that's IndyCar's playground. So I think NASCAR making the changes and going to COTA, going to Road America for the first time since like '67, that's incredible. It's an incredible feat to put those cars out there. I think personally that the change to the schedule is going to bring more eyes, bring more fans, show people this is not just a cookie cutter track series, that we're the best motorsports across the board. We can race dirt, we can race road courses, we can do ovals and restrictor plate tracks, and we can make it fun. I mean, everybody was bitching and moaning about the Busch class being on the Daytona road course, but
oh my god, I never rolled my eyes so much.
That's gonna be one of the best. That was one of the best finishes of the season with Chase diving in the corner to try to get the win. They were fighting for that win. They wanted to be the Busch class winner.
Because the fun part was also, if you think about it, it's kind of how Ryan Blaney got his win at the Roval. Same type of situation, and then Kyle Busch got the win from Ryan Blaney. Like, you know how Truex and Jimmy got into it, and then Blaney stole the win at the Roval. It was like the same exact situation, almost.
Exactly.
So
for them to come on and do what they did, I think from a NASCAR perspective, and this is from a fan, this is not from somebody that's in the sport. I don't go interview drivers or nothing, but from a fan's perspective, you know, adding Nashville to it and putting it back in the home. Nashville is a hub for NASCAR fans, and I'm a Tennessee guy. I'm from Columbia, Tennessee, and I'm excited to see Nashville get their first opportunity to show the world we're here to stay for NASCAR. And for me, if I make it home from Korea in time, I'm telling my wife, get in the truck. We're driving to Nashville. We're going to go watch this historical race because as much as I hate to say it, I think Kyle Busch is going to win the damn thing because he's a concrete god. He does what he does on concrete, but with all the road courses, it obviously falls in Chase Elliott's hands. But now you add Chase Briscoe, you know, you add people like Ryan Blaney, people like Martin Truex Jr. back to the fold and say, here's your road courses. Here's the chance for you to go out and show the whole world. Maybe get a road course ringer. Maybe Tony Stewart returns for the dirt race. Maybe he comes in there and races that. Maybe we can get smoke in a car, and go out there and show it. And then you'll have Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Tony Stewart, all of these great dirt guys come out and show the whole world that NASCAR was founded on dirt. We're back to dirt racing, and show the local fans from the local dirt tracks, hey, fuck, we can do this too. The top form of motorsports can race on dirt again.
Yeah.
And whatever brings the local fan back is what's going to bring NASCAR back to the promised land.
Well, there's a reason so many guys like you mentioned, NASCAR is a cornerstone, or dirt is a cornerstone of NASCAR, and there's a reason so many guys that we see in the Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series do have those dirt backgrounds. Is because that's been such a cornerstone. I mean, a lot of people know, especially if you've been a driver at one point, is that, hey, you know, if you're going to go to this high level, you need to know how to save a car. Where do you learn how to save a car? You go to dirt. And I mean, that dirt teaches you so much that you could transition into asphalt or concrete racing. And that's adding to what Terry said, not only being the original home in NASCAR, but still being maintained as the cornerstone of the sport.
Well, look at who we're talking about. We was talking about Haley Deegan. You know, she follows the path of Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson was an off-road driver. Look at him. He comes in NASCAR. He didn't win for a couple seasons. You know, he won his first rookie season in 16 starts, but then he goes off and rocks off 7 championships. Hailie Deegan, I'm not saying she's going to be in Jimmy Johnson status and she's going to win 7, but her off-road background, she comes into Truck Series last year at Kansas, no practice, no qualifying, finishes 17th. And that's not even indicative of where she ran the whole race. Hailie Deegan came in and did what she was doing and running in the top 10. She was fantastic in her
She's
first
a good driver. Absolutely.
She's excellent.
So if you look at all the dirt guys and the off-road guys who came into NASCAR, I mean, Kyle Larson had his mishap and he said a word that was, you know, it was hurtful to a lot of people. But him coming back in the sport and getting a second chance in the 5 car, it shows, okay, NASCAR can open their doors back up to you. Bubba Wallace is doing fantastic in the 23. I think he's going to win this season. Michael Jordan coming in, showing the world, okay, NASCAR is not an insensitive sport. We banned the Confederate flag. We went back to our local short tracks. We went back to our local dirt racing routes. You know, this is crucial. This is a crucial year for NASCAR to step up and go, this is the level we want to be at for the rest of our time here on this earth. And if NASCAR wants to succeed, they need to get the local short track guys to come out and watch. They need to get the fans at the Saturday and Friday and Saturday shows to watch our sport again. And they're not doing that. And this year they're going to try to do it.
That's very true, because a lot of the local tracks are where those passions begin. And then those are the kids that grow up to want to become drivers. And if the interest in the local stuff dies out, the interest for NASCAR in general could potentially die out over time. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it could just kind of fall apart if it gets less and less interesting.
Exactly.
And the one thing I love
you don't want,
or go ahead, Vols.
Well, you don't want so if you're a 10-year-old kid and you're going to your first dirt race at let's say a Knoxville or an Eldora or one of these local short tracks, you don't want that kid to go, I'll never watch NASCAR because all they do is race mile and a half, or all they do is they have a couple short tracks on the schedule.
All they do is turn left.
Those fans aren't tuning in. And when the trucks went to Eldora for the first time, oh my gosh, I was very upset with how NASCAR handled Eldora, because NASCAR put it on Fox Sports 1, and 90%, close to 90% of your fans were not a fan of that, because you need to put your big marquee races on the premier network. You know, your premier network in Fox or NBC needs to be carrying a race like that, because your fans in the holler, you know, as we say in the South, the holler fans, they don't have cable. They have your local TV networks. And if you put Eldora on that, they're going to tune in and watch. It's like the NBA Finals. They put it on ABC because everybody tunes in to watch it on ABC because they have the channel.
Or the people who, like, I'm just going to say my cable bill is like, for cable and internet, it's like $200 a month. I'm not even joking. It's disgusting.
Same.
But if I want to watch all of the races, you have to pay for it.
And that's the same here. We pay for the package just for NASCAR. And like, I wish that the cable companies would at least be like, hey, pick a channel or two to add for like, but no, they make you pay for like 18 channels you don't want just because the NASCAR races are on 1 or 2 of those channels.
My wife's probably in the chat, and she can tell you, when I'm not home, my TV doesn't come on because my wife doesn't watch it. She's not a fan of watching TV. She watches Hulu and Netflix. But when I'm home, ESPN, Fox, NBC, and NBCSN is the only channels I watch other than USA for wrestling. Why am I paying so much for it? And why is NASCAR limiting their market and limiting their fan base by putting select races on FS1? You're not building anything on FS1.
Not at all.
Your ratings drop on FS1. Your ratings drop on NBCSN. You know, you have the app, but who's gonna know? You can't tune into the app if you don't have NBC on your cable.
Yeah,
like you're not able to watch it.
It's unfortunate that we're limiting fans on people that on what they can afford to purchase for cable.
And then they want to complain about the ratings being down. Like,
not everyone is making enough money, especially now in this pandemic. I mean, I'm lucky, my family's lucky that we were still working during the pandemic because we're essential workers. But these people who aren't essential workers who are NASCAR fans, I don't know how many times I have given out my Xfinity login information to a friend of mine because they don't have the
Same.
channel and they want to watch the race that
Same.
bad and they can't afford it.
That's
Absolutely.
the exact same over here. And I look at it, look at the prominent time of NASCAR, right? 2000 and 2001 to about 2006 when they swapped to ESPN, or 2005, one of the years, and they swapped to ESPN in the second half of the season. You look at what they did. They had every race was on Fox, every race was on NBC. They never had an alternate channel, and that's when the height of the sport was real. And they only went to Auto Club, Atlanta, Richmond, Bristol, stuff like that, Dega, Talladega. There wasn't a variety for you to watch. And it was the only form of motorsports that was shown on NBC, Fox, and ABC. So you have yourself in a box across the board. And for now, this season, they market it as the best season ever on Fox. But you're going to drop your ratings for races like Nashville on NBCSN. Talladega is going to be on Fox, but that's probably not going to draw big ratings until the final 10 laps. But like all of these tracks that they've marketed as your best season ever, you're messing fans up by putting your premier show during the winter months that all the basketball goes off, all the football's off, whatever. You're marketing that to go FS1. FS1's not going to draw you big ratings. It's not going to do it. So I would be ashamed if they put the Bristol dirt race on FS1 or even the practices. I would put the practices and qualifying on Fox. I would market everything on Fox to show fans this is what you're going to see on Sunday. Because the local fans out in the back is not going to watch on NASCAR.com.
Yeah. And I mean, if anybody is listening to this and watching the truck race at the same time, like I am, this truck race has been phenomenal, but it's on FS1.
Right. So regular people who are just trying to find something to watch or maybe think, you know what? I think I heard something about the truck race. I'm going to check it out. They can't check it out. So then they're like, whatever. You know what? I was interested in NASCAR. I couldn't find it. So I don't care.
Yeah.
And let's look and see what's on Fox right now. We go look and see what's playing
repeats
on the
of
Fox
some
network
other show.
itself. It's well, right now they're playing SmackDown. They're playing WWE, which barely draws enough ratings.
Why isn't that on USA with the rest of the WWE network?
Because
they $1 billion to put SmackDown on Fox.
I thought it was $2 billion. I thought it was a $2 billion
NASCAR than SmackDown, and I'm not. I'm a casual wrestling fan. I'm not like super into it like some people are. I really like Bray Wyatt's little funhouse stuff, so I watch for that sometimes because it's kind of cool. Like, I feel like this truck race is probably a whole lot more entertaining than scripted fake wrestling. And that's probably going to make some people mad, but that's what it comes down to. It's the same storylines over and over and over. They just change the characters, whereas this is actually interesting and good and shows guys who may not get shown on, you may not know. And these guys, some of these guys are eventually going to be cup guys. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Some of these guys are going to be cup guys, and nobody's going to know them because nobody has FS1 to watch it.
And that's why.
How are they supposed to get fans?
That's why a lot of this stuff is just. I mean, it's sad to see. Like, it's tough for guys to gain popularity. It takes them a few years in the Cup Series to be able to do that. Looking at guys like, Alex Bowman was backed pretty easily by the Dale Jr. fans, but guys like, I'll even say William Byron or like Christopher Bell, they were looked at as just plain guys, or even Chase Briscoe didn't get fans until nearly the end of his Xfinity career. Just to add to what you were saying, it's just so hard for these guys to become marketable when they're not actually being marketed on their way up. So, I mean, it's just, it's
you see a lot
difficult.
of them using social media to market themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
To show their personality, to get fans. I know how I became an Anthony Alfredo fan. I tweeted something last March about my phone number being 2188, and at that point I was a Matt DiBenedetto fan and a Dale Jr. fan, and I thought, okay, my phone number is perfect. So I get a random tweet from some guy that I don't know with his last name Alfredo. He likes my tweet, and I'm like, well, why is Anthony Alfredo, whoever you are, I see that you're a race car driver, liking this tweet? So he responds, I'm a 21 too. I thought you would maybe hop on my fandom, hashtag Fast Pasta. Well, the hashtag done got me. I was hooked at that point. I was like, okay, this is it. This is how I become a fan. So like guys like Anthony Alfredo or guys in these lower series who aren't getting TV time, who aren't getting, seen, are going to social media. Look at what Joe Graff Jr. did last year. He follows so many NASCAR fans. It's unreal. And how many people do you see on Twitter rooting on him to do well? A lot. Because all he did was a simple click and a follow and interact with the team. Yep. That's how you build fans when you can't build a fandom by television.
Absolutely. And they always use that advertising saying that names are made here for Xfinity, but it's like, how are they made if no one, for people that don't watch, like people are going to come into the Cup Series and they're going to be like, I don't know who that is. Why should I watch? It's, it's hard to get their names out there. Exactly right.
Definitely.
So.
Overlooking, we talked about it earlier, and luckily, like we briefly, I'm gonna say, skimmed over it earlier, but talking about this being like branded as the greatest season ever. Of course, it starts out with the Great American Race, and I just want to get the overall view. There's a lot of questions surrounding it, but the original post qualifying and dual starting lineup has been created and has been started. What is the outlook going into the Daytona 500? It's now up on the stream, but Alex Bowman and William Byron both might have to go to backup cars. I don't think it's been confirmed if either one of them. I think William Byron's has been confirmed they're going to the backup.
Byron has been confirmed, yeah. Oh,
but
26
Bowman.
truck. Oh, no. Sorry.
I'm behind, so you're watching this race and you're going, ooh, and
I'm waiting for it because I'm watching on Hulu, so I'm behind always.
Keep an eye on the 26 truck and then the 33. Oh no!
I think Bubba Wallace is going to win the 500, and I saw him. See that too. I saw him flashes of brilliance in the clash, or not in the clash, but in the duels. I saw flashes of brilliance in qualifying. He had great single car speed, had great drafting speed. Great moves. He had fantastic moves. And if it wasn't for Harvick pushing the 3 car and him making a very bold move to take the win in the second duel, I think we'd be talking about the 23 getting his first win of the season. But to me, I think Bubba getting the win, and I think it's going to be a sweep. I think it's going to be 1, 2, 3 for JGR in the Great American Race. The Toyotas are always strong. The Chevys have good speed.
They're just not consistent at Daytona.
And the Fords have very good speed and they have very good power. But I think, a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's scripted. You know what? It might be. Junior won the 2001 Daytona Pepsi 400 after his dad died at Daytona. Bubba Wallace is coming into this with Michael Jordan as the owner. To a Cinderella story like Trevor Bayne winning it in the 21 car. Ryan Newman could possibly win it, and the storyline could be, here he goes, road to redemption. He wins after his big crash.
Right.
But I think Bubba Wallace.
I think it's going to be
victory lane, and it's going to be a good one.
If Bowman wins, we know that's scripted as well. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, here's the thing: Bubba has not only shown a lot of promise this weekend or this week, but you have to remember he's always performed pretty well here at Daytona. I mean, he almost won the race back in August. He's finished second at the 500 a couple years ago. He's not weak here at all. He can be being up front, and just if he can stay out of the chaos, which is the hardest part of Daytona. Finishing the race is the hardest part of winning Daytona.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I think, and I'm hoping I'm not jinxing you here, honey, with this, but I think that if rain doesn't play a part in this, and they're like people like Bubba or one of these storyline drivers can keep their car in one piece, I think anyone has a chance. Like going into this week, I'm playing multiple fantasy leagues. Don't ask me how I got into it. I don't know any of it, so this is going to be a hot mess. I'm just telling you. But like you can just do eeny, meeny, miny, mo and pick one, and you don't know. Like last night, I do a fantasy league that's not on like an app, just with a couple friends where we just pick. And I was like, okay, Stenhouse Jr. and Austin Dillon. Stenhouse Jr., he either wrecks or he wins. There's no middle ground there. Stenhouse either wrecks or he wins on restrictor
he's pretty
plates.
just mediocre. Not as often as the other two.
But what I'm saying is, like, Austin Dillon, he's amazing on restrictor plates.
Mm-hmm.
He won last night, so I got some fantasy points, and I was pretty happy about it.
I'd be happy with the
like,
Dillon one.
It's a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm.
It's whoever can be smart enough to, and that's where Junior was good. They said, Junior and his dad could see the air.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't disagree with that statement, because most races, especially restrictor plates, that Senior or Junior were in, they could see where those wrecks were going to happen, and they would back off. Like, I believe it was Hamlin last night. He thought that things were getting dicey, so he backed off, because you can see it coming before it comes.
Yeah.
Especially the big one. Like, like on TV or in person as you're watching, you can start seeing when things get dicey. And you can see those drivers who know that, okay, it's getting real. I'm going to back off a little bit. Back off. And like there's a couple of specific drivers. Kozlowski does it. Sometimes Hamlin does it. Junior did it. There's a couple of them who can kind of anticipate that. And if you're one of those drivers who has enough experience or have had help from people who have experience winning restricted plates, if you can kind of anticipate that, you can win the race. It's I think that they compared it to chess last night. It's 100% a game of chess, but with race cars. Because if you can anticipate the other person around you and their moves and come out of this unscathed, you can win it. That's just the nature of the beast with restrictor plates.
I mean,
on that.
Go ahead, Vols.
Well, I'd like to transition from here to go into something that's near and dear while we're in the kind of like the mid part of this show. We've become an official partner with morethanthecape.org. Very near to foundation to my heart, Xperts, and all of our community in the NASCAR Heat League. If you drop it in the chat, morethanthecape.org, go in there, you can get a shirt, a polo, a cup, donate to the cause, share it with your friends, try to help raise money for TJ's story. It's a great little foundation. 100% of my winnings on what I do and the broadcasting side of my stuff is going to morethanthecape.org. To help with pediatric cancer. It's a huge near and dear to our heart, and we're glad to be an official partner of More Than the Cape. So drop the link, and if you're generous and you want to go give, please tune into my streams. Come give some love and help out with the cause, because every view is about 10 cents on Twitch. So show some love to a wonderful charity, but
absolutely, everybody should go check that out.
Yes, I agree. I just found out about it recently, but I will definitely be making or purchasing some shirts or a Yeti can koozie, and I will be supporting them because it's a fabulous foundation, and I believe that children's cancers are really
huge.
It's something. Yes, it's huge, and everybody should be supporting it.
Absolutely.
So as we transition here, we're looking at we're talking more about the NASCAR side of it. Well, when you look at the motorsports world across the board here, so we're looking at a motocross, IndyCar, all of that. We're seeing drivers transition from one to the other. We saw the 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson go from NASCAR to IndyCar for select races. He's testing out the MotoGP stuff. He's looking into that. He's looking into racing. He raced the Rolex 24 at Daytona and the prototypes. What is the chance of one of those guys coming into NASCAR for a one-off race at one of these road courses, as in the Xfinity Series or Truck Series or Cup Series even, to try to build the sport in motorsports in general, to try and boost their credibility, like we saw Jeff Gordon do when he won the Rolex 24. He's already an established 4-time champion, and he went and won the Rolex. What's the precedence of them coming over and trying to win a Daytona or an Indy or something like that as a marquee event for NASCAR.
I think that as a fan, we would love to see it because crossovers are always fun. But I feel like I don't see the interest on their side as much as you see the interest on the NASCAR guys' side to go hop over, and check out their racing. Unless I'm missing something. Maybe now. I just don't see the interest.
I agree with you. You see a lot of our guys, NASCAR guys, I'll say our guys, but NASCAR guys, doing the double or wanting to do the double and that crazy, insane Indy to Coke 600 thing that they do. And it's cool. It's amazing. Like Kurt Busch helicoptering on into Charlotte, getting off a helicopter, strapping into a car. Yeah, it's awesome. It's cool. It's exciting. It's exciting for us. Now, is it exciting for them? The IndyCar guys, the other guys? I don't know. You tell me if you're a fan. I'm not. I don't really watch it. I'm pretty much strictly NASCAR. But it's cool for us to see. We're like, I've tuned into races where I know a NASCAR person's racing, and I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's see what we can do here. But I think it depends on whether their fans like it. If they're interested, I mean, Juan Pablo Montoya did it for a few years. Didn't pan quite out for him. Danica Patrick did it for a few years. Didn't pan out to him. Everybody remembers Juan Pablo Montoya literally just for the Daytona jet dryer incident, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, that's
There's
pretty sad
always
for being
stuff that happens at Daytona.
I mean, it's pretty sad for him. He's a two-time Indy 500 champion, I believe. But I mean,
he didn't get enough credit in NASCAR.
Yeah.
Neither did Patrick, but Juan Pablo Montoya actually got screwed.
I'll also add, as an Australian supercar guy, like I watch some of that. I'll throw in Marcus Ambrose in there as well. But looking all over, my mindset for these guys is, why do NASCAR guys sometimes go out? A lot of these guys, when you see them go to the Rolex or something like that, they're either profound and great road course racers in which they have a shot to win those races, or they're looking to learn. And they're looking to round out those skills and make them better and try to perfect that craft to be able to run on road courses. We saw Jimmy Johnson win this year, I think, as a precursor to try to get him ready to run more road courses and IndyCar if he decides to go there full-time and stuff like that. IndyCar, these guys coming from IndyCar F1 and stuff like that, I don't think that's necessarily a need for them to be able to come here and race for NASCAR. Of course, it'd be cool to run an oval or something like that. But with them, their main style being road courses and stuff like that, I think that kind of pushes them away to be like, hey, I don't need to do this. But seeing the majority of NASCAR drivers stepping out of their comfort zone and going to these other different styles of racing, I think that's what adds another dimension to it, and could be the thought process that keeps some of these outside of NASCAR drivers away from stepping into this style of motorsport.
Big wreck.
No.
Hold on.
No.
Ooh, Stuart Friesen.
Why see it?
The truck's good. Stuart Friesen's truck is.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Bouncing. My son is doing his impression of Stuart Friesen, and he's literally bouncing his butt up and down.
So as we were talking about them transitioning and doing some of the road courses for the Rolex and whatnot. So I see it from, what effects does NASCAR have on the motorsports world? Because we talk about the marquee races for the actual series itself. You have Daytona, you have Charlotte. That's about it. That's about it for your marquee races, other than Darlington, which is really hard to do. Why do you think it is that those drivers don't want to come over and possibly win like AJ Foyt did, or any of the great names that are synonymous with IndyCar and NASCAR? Why don't they now want to come over and say, I want to win and I want to race at Daytona for just the experience of doing it? Is it because NASCAR is kind of lacking on one end, or is it because their events are just a lot more marquee than ours?
I don't think NASCAR held the prestige that it held back in the day, at least in their opinions. I'm not saying that I believe that for myself, but like when you were talking earlier about the height of NASCAR, like when it was all on the same on the channels everyone could watch. Like, everyone was into it. Like, the Days of Thunder special that they showed during the rain delay yesterday kind of reminds you of how significant NASCAR was as a cultural sport, so to speak, back then. And now it's fallen off. You know, it's got negative connotations here and there. It's just not viewed as the same. I don't know. It's just not viewed the same it used to be. So I think that's my opinion for that. I don't know. Yeah, they understand the Daytona 500 is like huge, but I don't think that they see it as maybe as big of a deal as some of their marquee races. Just my thought.
I feel like also I'm not sure about this. I'd have to look it up. But if you look at the age of NASCAR fans now versus the age of NASCAR fans in the 90s, if it wouldn't tell you something. Because I know, for instance, my dad was a huge NASCAR fan, and he was for a very, very long time. He went from senior to junior, and then when junior retired, he kind of fell off because he didn't know any of these names. And if it wasn't for me being such a fan still, I'm not sure that my dad would know some of these names that are in here now, or know what they're about, or, anything about them, because he's 70 years old. He's not watching NASCAR as much anymore. I'm thinking that maybe there's an age demographic switch going on, and that's why we're seeing less viewers, because the viewers that we had back then are getting older, maybe taking their interests elsewhere, or their driver retired, so they're kind of like, I was only watching because so and so was racing. Now they're not racing, so it's kind of pointless.
That's a good point too.
So as we look at, we saw the Rolex 24 go off without a hitch. It was a fantastic race across the board. We saw people like AJ Allmendinger, Chase Elliott, the NASCAR champion, goes over there. Jimmy Johnson races. As we look at speed weeks in a whole, because this is what this is about. It's about talking and getting ready for the NASCAR season. As you looked at what they did there, how crucial was it for those guys that are actually acting Cup Series drivers to get experience on the road course? Because some of them that raced did not make it to the Clash. They did not get to race on the road course previously. How crucial was it for those guys to get some track time, especially at night, just in case it does rain and they do have to, if we get a bad thunderstorm and they put it at night? Was it big for them to get track time? Because I don't believe there is any practice for that. So those guys getting on track and getting laps in the bus stop without the chicane on the front straightaway for Austin Dillon and for a couple of those guys that got to go in and race it. Was it crucial for them, or is it just another check of the box?
No, I think it was pretty crucial because it's a new track, well, relatively new, so to speak, since they just added the Daytona road course last year. And it's not like they could recall previous experience and memories for some kind of recall on where to run at the track without practice. You can go, okay, well, I know that I can run the high line here, or typically this is what I do in this turn, because they've run it so many times. With this course, it's still new. And the more time you get on that course to get familiar with the turns, especially, and hitting your marks and trying to figure out, even if it's, looking around the track and finding the focal points that, okay, I need to start downshifting here or paying attention to this part here. It's just the more experience you can get is always good. I think that it's a track that has shown it can be chaotic. Last year in August, when the 3 series ran there. So yeah, I think it's definitely important for those who have that extra experience coming up here for next weekend.
So now I'm going to put y'all on the spot because we're talking about all forms of motorsports here.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh no!
If you're watching a race as a racing fan across every division, whether it's USAC, sprint car, midgets, quarter midgets, whatever. if you're gonna pick one race that you're gonna watch from all different motorsports, what track stands out and which race and why do you pick that race over any? Told you I was gonna put you on the spot.
Oh my God. This is payback for all those tough questions that we've like celebrated.
I bring hard hitting questions down. I sit here and I studied last night and I watched a lot of your podcasts and I heard some of the hard hitting questions you threw out. Well, I threw that out because for me personally, I think the Snowball Derby is one of the most crucial races for a driver to win. You got Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott went out and ran it, Noah Gragson, all of these prominent NASCAR guys went out to run that course because they loved going out there and driving those cars. And for me, I always looked at the Snowball Derby as a huge event, whether it's on pay-per-view or whether it's sold on the app as it was this year. And that's why I asked, because y'all are big in racing. So which race across the board in all series do you look at and go, that's the one race right there that I'm not going to miss no matter what? Even though we have the greatest day in racing with the, you have the Le Mans or the Formula One race, you have the IndyCar race, you have the Coke 600 on one day. There's a lot more racing other than that. So what race to you stands out above the rest in all series and all motorsports across the board to make you want to tune in as a fan?
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Oh shit, you go first.
I knew. Why'd you ask that if she was gonna throw you straight under the bus?
Because you know what, I try to be fair, and like I feel like even when we're hosting our show, I try to get a feel for if I feel like I talked more than Deb, I want to give her a chance to like jump in, because sometimes you get on, a little side story or something, and vice versa. So even doing this, I was doing what I do. I was feeling out to be like, okay, I think I talked a lot recently, so that's why I offered it to her. Sometimes you can't turn off being a host. I'm sorry. So
yeah, I've been doing that too. So
so I wanted to offer her the chance, but since she's not ready, I am ready. So I was in agreement with you talking about the snowball derby. My New York accent sometimes fights with my Southern accent. So it's an awesome race that brings a lot of drivers back to maybe a little bit of their roots if they, go back to way before all the chaos and going up the series started. And I think they enjoy that. But also for me, and it might sound kind of like an easy answer, but I have to say the Daytona 500 because it's the most exciting race for me, even though I live an hour south of Daytona. Even just seeing the commercials, I get the butterflies, I get goosebumps, I get excited because I'm also like, I get to call Daytona my home track. And every time I hear people talk about how prestigious this track is and Daytona, I'm like, I get geeked out. I'm such a little nerd about it. I love it. I love Daytona. Every time we drive there, no matter how many times I've driven there, I turn 12 and pull out my phone. I'm like, I gotta take a picture of the sign that I take a picture of every time I come here. I love that track. And yeah, that's my race. So, okay, Deb, it's your turn now.
Okay. So I'm gonna do it, Chrissy, and you're gonna be mad at me. Okay, so my tracks have changed slightly. Where I would be, no matter where I was, I would stop and watch Richmond. Loved Richmond. I was there when Dale Jr. got taken out by Kyle Busch. It was the first race I ever attended there. The first race I ever attended with my boyfriend at the time, now husband. And I was real salty. I'm still real salty. I'm still not over it.
She's brought this
I mentioned this
quite a few times.
Yes. So now it's kind of switched where the Bristol night race for me, I don't know what it is. I really can't explain it. But now, like, it kind of switched, especially when Richmond switched to their day races and not always night races. Bristol, to me, not dirt, is
not dirt.
Just a beast. Like, no matter what you're doing, you watch Bristol because Bristol is always exciting. There's always something going on. It never fails at Bristol. there's always some sort of amazing thing happening or some really crappy thing happening. I mean, the Rattlewise Cage thing from Dale Sr., you've got that. You've got Dale Jr. from Bristol. You've got most recent one, Matt DiBenedetto finishing second to Denny Hamlin. You've got that one. There's so many memorable things that happen in Bristol that just kind of are like, okay, I remember that because it happened in Bristol, or it happened in Bristol and I remember that because it was amazing racing. So I think Bristol Night Race is probably the race for me.
What about you, Xperts? Throw you on the spot too.
Okay. I mean, everybody has always known that. Like, I've been a big fan of dirt racing. I grew up around dirt racing. Being so close to a dirt track. I mean, I live in Northeast Georgia, and being so close to tracks like Toccoa, and I know it's not a dirt track, but so many dirt guys ran here. Lanier, when that was open and stuff like that. Seeing these guys race at so many different, like all these different places, and just seeing like how they were able to run, it's been huge to be able to watch. If I couldn't exactly like, I couldn't probably even narrow it down to one race, but just to say like, I will even say like any World of Outlaws race, like whether I know sometimes like it, whenever I get lucky enough that they get broadcast at times and such, just to be able to watch those and be able to like relive like being younger and being able to go to those dirt races all the time, just seeing the modifieds run has always been a big thing for me, and that has to be mine, is just any type of World of Outlaws racing.
I like how Deb splotted around and touched like every bit that she could to down to one. It was such a hard feat to get.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much, and I hate to take away from the Chili Bowl, but I think the Chili Bowl in itself has its own flavor to it. No pun intended race, on the flavors of chili, but
it's a lot of fun.
You watch that race and you just think of the mystique that's around it, but it's not synonymous. It's synonymous in that, but you don't just picture it and go, I want to go to the Chili Bowl. You think of all these other races that you can go to and see the aura that comes around it, like a Daytona, like a Bristol, like an Eldora, stuff like that. The World of Outlaws is fantastic to watch, and there's a lot of great guys that came out of that series that has progressed into the Cup Series or progressed into NASCAR itself. So I'll ask another tough one. Put yourself in the president of NASCAR shoes, and you have to make one change to NASCAR as a whole. And I'm saying as a whole, in all three series, what's the one thing you would do that would make the sport better for the good or for the worse?
Ask again, Deb, would you like to go first?
No, go ahead. I gotta think about it.
Okay. I'm thinking a little bit, but one of the first things that came to mind, of course, was this might not necessarily be in his shoes, but streamlining the TV stuff, like we talked about earlier. I can't agree more about taking it off the secondary channels. Again, that's probably not something that's in his control, but God, that is a hard question. I feel like there's a couple things that I could come up with. I just can't. I can't think. I worked
hard on these. I worked hard on these questions, by the way. I just thought of them in my head.
Oh my God. I don't know. I'm thinking. I feel this is like the hardest question I think I've ever had. Because, Deb, please try.
Okay. Repeat the question to me.
Okay, so put yourself in the president of NASCAR shoes, and you have to make a change to NASCAR that's either going to be for the good or for the bad. What would you make?
Okay. I would change the charter system.
I'm shaking my head.
Especially for restrictor plate races. It would be you qualify fastest, you get in. It would be none of this racing, checking up. If you have a charter, you're in. No. Just because you have a charter, you shouldn't be in a restricted plate race.
Oh no, Haley Deegan got around.
Oh no.
Sorry.
Then also, I would only do 2-year contracts with tracks. If they can prove that they're worthy enough to have a NASCAR race, then you re-sign them. If you don't, then you move on. There's a lot of different tracks out there that NASCAR doesn't touch that could be touched and should be touched, but we're still on these same tracks. And some of them aren't good. Some of them are the same old, same old. I think 2 years is plenty of time to see whether a track's going to work or not, whether they should get 2 dates or 1 date or no date at all.
Deb's full on manager mode.
I am. I'm a leader. I'm a born leader. I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
She's going on everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So I have my station.
Okay.
Okay. So I would bring back some of the international racing, whether it's down back
Mexico,
in Mexico, Canada,
Japan,
or even when they flew out to Japan.
Yep.
Just even if it's one exhibition race a year and it rotates, I think that would be so cool because it would not only give us that, something extra exciting, but it would give fans in other countries a chance to attend a live race. Because I know there's fans in other countries and they never get to go to a race unless they have the money to spend, which that is insanely expensive. And I would try to incorporate even something over in the UK somewhere, just something each year, just to spread NASCAR more than just America. It's such a, like that connotation, the redneck American sport. It's so much more than that, and it's so hard to prove that unless we really get out and expand to some of our international fans and friends. So that's what I would do.
All right. I'm guessing I'm going to get thrown under the bus here too, Terry?
I mean, yeah, there's no reason to take you out of the fold, too.
All right. Let's be real here. Let's make more availability to make more money. Let's lower beer costs at concessions. I'm kidding.
That is a very good thought, though. I mean, $9 for a Bud Light. Come on.
Yeah, I know it's weird, but
it's like $2 anywhere else.
Thinking about this, if there was any way I could possibly make it more accessible to allow these smaller teams to be able to make, like smaller teams that want to become big teams, to allow them to be able to stay competitive to where they could possibly earn those spots, I'd like to make it a little bit easier for them, because there's so many teams that we've seen that have come and gone that, we're trying to reach that level to be great teams, and they just get completely dominated. The first one that I think when it comes to mind, Levine Family Racing, that was a team that was so huge or whatnot, and they ended up having to sell their stuff out to be able to back what they to be able to back what they wanted to push out there. They ended up having to sell the team away. So that says enough right there. Teams like Germain, when Ty Dillon was in the car, they tried their hardest to be out there, and once they got their funding almost completely cut, they had to call it an end, and that threw Ty Dillon under the bus. So to see how it affects drivers
and so
teams alike, that would be one thing that I would try to fix, is make it easier for smaller teams to stay competitive and stay afloat.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that I kind of root on the underdogs a lot. After junior, I've tended to gravitate towards the guys who don't get a whole lot of TV time, don't get a whole lot of, attention, but they're good. They're totally capable of winning a race. It's just the equipment that they're in is, subpar or not good at all, depending on who I'm talking about. But,
or two.
Yeah. I think that and I'm hoping that the new gen car kind of levels the playing field a little bit, at least for a year, so that we can see what these guys who don't have great equipment this year can do in a car that's more similar to the Gibbs, the Hendrick, those powerhouse teams. Because I think that maybe, some of these guys, I'm going to say Corey LaJoie is a big one. deserve a top tier ride and it's just not available. So if the equipment was similar and we were on a more level playing field, I feel like Four-Wheel Joy would definitely be a contender.
Well, while we're on
Absolutely.
the topic of equal equipment, I'm going to go ahead and throw a shout out to one of our sponsors, nnrleague.com. You can go to their website. That's nnrleague.com. Go to the Zazzle tab and purchase all of the fastest coffee mugs, sweatshirts, golf balls, and any other merchandise that you can. And if you use the promo code February Shop at your checkout, you can get 15% off of all your purchases. That's nnrleague.com/Zazzle tab for 15% off with the code word February Shop. Boom! That's how you throw a promo. Woo!
The promo code ready and everything.
Mic's muted. Now I just noticed that.
Oh.
Okay, well now it's fixed. I'm gonna try my hand at this. All right, now looking at this, which I don't know if my mic was muted during that whole time either. If it was, I feel very bad now. But I'm gonna try my hand at this. Looking at NNR and their page as well, I'm gonna go ahead and flip this graphic. If you check out their page as well, you'll also find a section on iRacing where you can sign up and race in their new iRacing League as well, which is going to be broadcasted by our very own Bullspan88 this season. He's getting his big break to go up there in the booth and give you all the uncensored, now censored, great racing content that he's always provided, this time on a different platform. Be sure to also follow NNR on Twitter at NNR Sim League, and also go check them out on Facebook at No Name Racing League. Remember, iRacing's coming soon. Do not miss out on your opportunity to join or tune in to Bullspan 88.
That was a really great job.
That's
Great
gonna
sales
be
pitch.
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. June's gonna come around, and we're turning it from NNR Red to NNR Blue. So thankful that they picked me to do it, and I'm joined by the great Rick James, one of the greatest broadcasters NASCAR has seen on Twitch.
I was just so tempted to yell the Rick James thing, but I didn't.
Yeah, I'm Rick James, bitch.
You did it for me.
So shit. I love me some Dave Chappelle, but Rick James coming aboard is huge. It's fantastic to have him come on board. They're actually running their fun runs right now, doing a test session, but to get 36 trucks are going to hit the field at Daytona in June. We'll get back from Korea and we'll get on iRacing and we'll be pushing along. I look forward to everybody coming in and tuning out. Hopefully we can bring some sponsors aboard to help me with the morethancape.org. And get the awareness out there for pediatric cancer. No child or family should ever have to struggle while their child is struggling. Every kid should have the opportunity to succeed, even after they beat it, or if they don't beat it, the parent shouldn't be struggled with a medical bill or having to provide food for themselves or rent or whatever. So it's huge that we can get sponsors to come aboard to help us with this cause and to jump on board, help donate, spread the word of pediatric cancer. Kate's done a great job with the foundation. It's an honor to have him on board on the channel. So to get the nod that I'm going to be doing it, taking over for the great repeat 1975. He's done a great job with the Xbox side. And as anybody heard, I mean, I can throw a hell of a sponsor out there. Like, let's see, Blake Cook's coming on the show. And if you go to filtertime.com and you get your Filter Time air filters, you can get 50% off if you use the code eSpark. Down there at the bottom of the tab, you can get all of your filters at any website. You can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, whatever. But that's filtertime.com, 50% off your purchase if you use the code eSpark at the end.
Well, you're hogging all the sponsorship plugs. I think we
Are
need
we
to
in an infomercial?
Well, I mean, we might
We could be,
but
we could be.
I mean, if we're going to do one more, I think we might need to end the infomercials with this one. Chrissy and Deb, you've been joining us all evening. You've been a lot of fun to have. I've already put the link out in chat, and I'll do it again. But just go ahead, give your best infomercial for your own podcast. I already put the Twitter link in there.
Put you on the spot. Give your own promotion.
It's not time to shine.
Here we go.
Oh God! Hold on, I'm walking away.
Give your own commercial.
I don't want to do this in front of my husband.
You might want to mute yourself.
Go ahead,
This
go,
is
go,
gonna
go.
be good.
Do
This
it.
is gonna be good.
I don't even
Okay.
know what we're gonna do, but you do it. You go.
Okay. Viewers, are you interested in NASCAR? Do you like females? Do you like females in NASCAR? If so, we have the podcast for you. Fast Lap Podcast. Two females talking about NASCAR and whatever else comes into their head at one time. We are on Twitter, Fast Lap Podcast. We are on Instagram, Fast Lap Podcast. We are on Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So listen to us, check us out, tell us what you think, and follow and like us. Thanks.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, okay, that was great. That was great. I was about to say, with that whole first line, Terry's interest peaked to 110% at the point.
110 from the start. That's how you give a fucking that's how you give a commercial.
Right? I don't even think I need to try. Why
I channeled my inner female Billy Mays on that because he's the best with the oxy stuff.
That was great. Or hold on, was it? I saw this boating hat with Flex Seal.
Yes, those Flex Seal people are on Snap.
Oh my god!
Hey, if we actually get it, I talked to the My Pillow guy.
Oh no!
I'm trying to get my Pillow to come jump on board.
Doesn't he have like a whole bed now? Like it's my bed or my mattress or
no,
something.
His whole company.
I don't know what he calls it.
His whole company got canceled, unfortunately. But
their pillows are actually comfortable.
It's fantastic. If you look at his pillow commercials, I mean, I can give a great commercial for him. I mean, for the best night's sleep in the whole wide world.
Okay.
We've had so many of these.
I've been thinking. Hold on.
Oh god, here we go.
Hold on. Hi, do you like fast cars? Do you like NASCARs? Do you like chicks who like NASCARs and fast cars? Well, hold on tight because we've got the podcast for you. We've got Fast Lap with Chrissy and Deb. They're two chicks who like fast cars and NASCARs. So if you want to listen, click below on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. That's it. That's all I got.
That's what I'm talking about. See, where do we have that? We don't have that. We need that.
Do you want us to record episodes for you or commercials? We can just do voiceovers.
We're for hire.
We're for hire.
110%. I get what she was feeling right there because when she said "and more," I knew exactly. Like she was trying to remember all those links and just like couldn't. So she was like,
damn right.
I'm gonna tie the bow. I'm gonna tie it with a bow and just make it sound good, and I'm gonna get out of here.
You know what? Here you go. I
know
the big three. Okay, the big three, which was the favorite thing. Yeah. Here you go.
We're literally on like 10 different streaming things.
I know.
Sometimes
I don't even,
we're on
literally
YouTube.
Don't remember.
Sometimes we're on like Buzzsprout. Sometimes we're everywhere. So it's really hard. We need to be like Anthony Alfredo does this really well. When he does an interview, he lists absolutely everyone. I mean everyone. He lists his mama. He lists his fans. He lists Xfinity. He lists everyone. We need to somehow memorize a list like Anthony Alfredo has.
I swear they have.
So when we get put on
Corey,
I know.
When we had him on and he was like, I don't know, it just used to doing it. Like that's not the answer I wanted.
It's like those NASCAR drivers, you know. This I just gotta say our whole team ran well today. You know, this Hooters Bass Pro Shops like
Hot Wheels Racing Toyota Camry was real fast forward in here and I just gotta thank all my sponsors. Takes a sip out of the
pride myself. Well, I pride myself on giving good ads. You know, I do a couple leagues. I do one that's sponsored by Control Freak, one sponsored by Filter Time. You know, as I'm sitting up there, I just throw into a random thing. I'm like, hey, are you racing on a controller? Does your fucking analog stick suck? Go to controlfreak.com and use the promo code XXRL for 10% off at the checkout. And people go in and buy that shit, and they come to me and go, how did you give such a great promo? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I just randomly said it, and it just came out perfect. And then people just went and bought it. I have no idea.
That's literally how we do our shows. They're like we come up with the questions, but I can't tell you how many times we'll ask like 2 or 3 questions, and then we just go off into some random rant, and it makes the best show ever.
That's how it works. And I actually want to ask, and like we mentioned it, but I actually wanted to ask, how was it like? We talked about it previously, but I just wanted to do it on the record. How was it actually being able to sit down with Eddie DeHaan? I mean, he's one of the wisest guys in the NASCAR garage, and then of course up top spotting. I mean, how was it able to sit down with him and possibly be like just get to talk to one of the most legendary spotters in racing today?
Unbelievable.
Amazing. He was so cool. He was so down to earth, very serious, but not in a rude way. Like you can tell like his life and everything, it revolves around racing, and he loves it. And what's funny, when we sent him the original questions that we came up with, he replied and he was like, so I just want to give you a little background information. It seems like you guys, because a lot of the questions, of course, between all of us, we came up with a couple questions each. A lot of people were asking, obviously, championship questions, things very relevant to the 2020 season. Because we interviewed him on Chase's birthday.
Yeah.
November 28th. So it was pretty soon after the championship. And, you know, he just kind of wrote back and wrote an email and wrote out his history. Just, this is everything I've done, how I've come from building windows in up north, and then I came down and I work for NASCAR.
Lived with Steve Park.
Yes. Like, it was amazing. He's so full of knowledge. I told even Deb and I, when we finished that podcast, we were like, I feel like I could have talked to him all day. And he had no problem answering questions. He was so chill. He was so happy to just talk about himself a little bit, and also NASCAR. And we kind of, I don't want to say hit a sore spot, but we brought up the negativity and, you know, people who complain about Chase and say, you know, nasty things. And he's like, I see everything. He's like, I'm not stupid. Basically, you know, you listen to it. To paraphrase it, he basically said he sees it and he ignores it. And those people, if they want to be a fan of Chase and then jump on Fire Allen, oh, these people suck, you're not a true fan. And it was just the coolest thing to hear. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God, he's badass.
Honesty and his frankness made that podcast. Like, that wasn't us. Like, yeah, we were asking the questions and responding back to him. But that whole podcast, and that's kind of what our whole like little spiel is when we are like talking to somebody trying to get them on, is we don't care about us. Everybody knows us. Everybody knows who we are, what we do, you know, our life story, that I have a Bronze-Dale Jr. bus. Like, everybody knows that.
I can't even have you look at it now because this is audio. I make everyone look at it. Anyway.
I mean, we could tweet out a photo later.
Anyway, everybody knows us. We want to know these stories, like Eddie DeHaant's story. We want to know, like Ryan Vargas gave us the lowest of lows that he had and the highest of highs. Like, we want those stories. We don't care how your truck ran last week. We do, but we don't. Yeah, everybody else asks those questions, like the media. A lot of them ask a lot of the same questions. How'd your car
just
run?
worded differently?
What happened here in turn 4? Why'd you get loose? This and this and this. No, we want to know about the person. We want to know your struggles. We want to know your triumphs. We want to know why somebody should be a fan of you. Why somebody should follow you on Twitter and be like, okay, that's somebody I can get behind. That's somebody I can support. And that's kind of been from the very beginning. We did not want to ask questions that they hear every single week. Because those questions get old. Those questions are all the ones that end up in print media that people scroll on by and don't even really pay attention to, except for the headline, unless it's clickbait. Then they call you out for being clickbait. So we wanted something different.
What?
That's how this show goes. Is, you know, you guys came on, and when I found out y'all were coming on, I was like, oh shit, I got to do a little research. I listened to a couple of your podcasts. I didn't go too deep in anything. I saw your Twitter bios, but like, I didn't write questions down. I thought of maybe one question, and it was talking about the first one I asked about your podcast. How did you get started? But like the rest of it, they just shoot it from the hip. I don't give a shit about whatever. I care about what we're talking about. We're talking about racing. We're talking about NASCAR. And I wanted to know across the board, like everybody says, Terry, how do you prepare for a broadcast? How do you prepare for the podcast? I can tell you plain and simple, I don't. I don't look at your stats. I don't look at your practice. I don't look at anything. I go and I talk about the race as it is. I don't give a shit that you ran 15th in practice. Did you win the fucking race or not? If you won the race, congratulations, you won it. You were slow in practice, but you figured it out.
Yeah.
And it's like this show. Expert sends me a list of topics. I look at them and I go, cool. We talk about it. I give my opinion. That's it. Because my facts doesn't matter. The facts behind it doesn't matter. I go based off of what I know. And, that's what I liked about the realness of your podcast is listening to Eddie DeHaan's interview and how real he was in it. Listening to a couple other ones. I can't remember who was on, but there's a couple things that y'all have asked that was really tough. And they had to pause and they was like, damn, okay. Like you guys are coming in from the women.
Yeah. And that's with us sending them the questions or we're sending their PR reps the questions
ahead of time.
We send questions. Yes. We send questions ahead of time, usually to either the individual or PR reps, just so they kind of have a feel of what we're doing because we know we're a little different. We don't, we go off the rails a little bit. We ask a little bit different questions that might, if they're inappropriate, we can take them out. We've never had that happen yet, thankfully.
My dog is
when Jesse Owuji, when he came out of nowhere, he said, I tweeted him and he says, yep, I'll come join. Go put your information in my email. And I did. And I was like, I didn't send him a list of questions. I flat out told him, I shoot from the hip. We could be talking about how your growing up was or how you became a naval officer in the reserves. I'm going to talk to you about something real. I could give a fuck less that you didn't qualify for the truck race today because that hurts. You didn't make what you wanted to do. I'm not going to talk about your failures. I want to talk about your success. I want to talk about how you made it on NBC, how you became friends with Dale Jr., like how you've done great things in the sport and how he's opening a door for African Americans in the sport on the broadcasting side because we had never seen it. And I want to get Bubba Wallace on the show because I think Bubba Wallace is going to be the next Wendell Scott. And I think he's going to win a race and it's going to be huge for NASCAR because when he wins, oh my gosh, we've already seen Alvin Kamara. We've seen a statistically high rate of African Americans tuning into NASCAR, attending the races when fans are back allowed. We've seen a record high coming into the sport and Pitbull joining. We're going to see a Latino group, Daniel Suarez being his driver. That's huge for NASCAR. So I could give a shit less about what you did at Daytona, what you're doing down the road. I want to know about your life. I want to know how you came up and how you succeeded in the sport and what you're going to do to make yourself better, to be better in the sport.
Right.
So having you ladies on is fantastic. We're going to break the barrier of women in sports. And congratulations to Jamie Little and Caitlin Vincey.
Yes.
A huge fucking feat for them. And Haley Deegan. Haley Deegan's going to win multiple races this season, I think, in the truck series. It's going to be massive for NASCAR to watch women succeed in this sport. So kudos to y'all for doing your podcast.
Yes, that's kind of why also we started it. One of the things that I said to Deb was because she did that interview, the article about female fans in NASCAR. And I was like, I don't know of any female run fan NASCAR podcast. You have the podcast with the females in media, but I was like, there's nothing out there representing us. And so that's where most of the motivation started. And we wanted to our main focus was originally to get the stories out there of the women that work for NASCAR. Like we had Liz Frastella on, and, she is a badass that you just think of her as a part of the pit crew, but she runs so much stuff. She's in charge of basically helping get that entire hauler ready for leaving for the track.
She was the tire specialist for Gaunt Brothers last year.
Yeah.
And what she had to go through on a normal day was unbelievable. What she had to do during the pandemic was insane. It takes her so long to get those tires ready. It takes her a ridiculous amount of time to do what she does. And she's getting it done every single week.
Yeah. And there were days, she said there were days she barely got to eat because she was so busy. She was literally running between what she had to do during a race. And that's why, and also recently we wanted to bring the attention back to some of the fans and we did the live podcast with a couple of fans, and we want to try. I'm trying to get this hashtag Women of NASCAR as a movement going to get more attention to the women that do, not only, as fans, media people, there's people that are behind everything. There's so much more to the race you see every Sunday than just the race. There's people that work way back and never get recognition and help get the production running. They help get the teams ready. They help everything. And, you know, we're trying to bring attention to that, especially with the stigma that's out there. Females in cars. I've seen it my whole life. I've been into drag racing since I was like 14, and I've always got teased for trying to fit in. And it's like, why? Just why? So we're trying, that's our whole thing is, you know, we just want to bring the attention that's deserved and the recognition that's deserved.
Definitely.
To them. So that's my spiel.
Well,
thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
well, ladies, I think y'all for coming on, and
definitely
it's great to have y'all come aboard, and I appreciate y'all for shouting out.
Yes, we want any female who comes to NASCAR to know if they look for fans like them, they can just search that hashtag and find a welcoming group of women. And that is my last
thing. when we see one of y'all at Daytona, we'll send a tweet out where we're at. I think we're going to be in right before the start finish line. Our buddy bought 30-something tickets with fan passes for all of us here at NNR to go. And if you don't know who NNR is, and you have Twitch, go over there and follow NNR, follow Repeat, follow myself, Ballspan88 on Twitch. It's where they produce great shows. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they do an awesome job. I'll be taking iRacing on in June. They provide great racing. The esport world is taking off, and I think we're gonna launch it from there. So I appreciate y'all for coming on this show. Xpert, hell of a job getting these two to come on, and I look forward to listening to more of y'all's podcasts. And hell, hopefully maybe we can, when we're down at Daytona and y'all do a show, we can pop in and say hey and talk about the great season so far as we end the regular season there at Daytona.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. I will be there. Any Daytona race, you know I'll be there. I'm an hour south. I'm always there. So I look forward to it. Thank you guys for having us. This was
thank you so much.
I feel like this is one of the most fun we've had in a while. So thank you for having us. We look forward to doing it again. And I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. A day for you in Japan. Or not Japan, yes, Korea.
Korea. Yeah, Korea. It's noon. It's time for me. It's time for me just to chill out here and eat lunch.
Yeah, Terry's about to go get some lunch, but definitely thank both of y'all for joining us once again. Also, thank you to Terry and everybody else. Of course, all the sponsors within our league, More Than the Cape, all these great people that have helped put this together. Thank you to Rock NASCAR, Mama Vols, all of our supporters out there as well. Like Terry said, go check out NNR. Also, be sure to go check out our friends over at OMA as well. I'll be racing there. This is an off week this week, but next week there's going to be more action next week as well, so be sure to catch them. But also be sure to catch us weekly on Fridays going forward, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Of course, once we get another special rolling, we'd be happy to have that 8 p.m. start time again. But of course, once again, thank you, Chrissy and Deb, for joining us. Can't wait to possibly do it again down the road, especially if that opportunity comes up. We loved hanging out with y'all this evening, and like I said, hope to do it again sometime.
Yes, definitely. Thanks, guys. We had so much fun.
And congratulations to Ben Rode on winning at Daytona.
Yep.
That was a crazy finish.
That was an awesome finish.
Oh, my God. Side note, we had Ben Rhodes
on,
and he's amazing. Everybody needs to love Ben Rhodes. He's the funniest guy ever. Anyway, sorry.
Definitely. I've already put the Twitter link in the chat as well. Go check out their podcast. Go listen up. Go support them. They gave us, Chrissy and Deb both gave us so much advice about how to keep moving forward. Of course, us just starting up and stuff like that, to be able to build more and more, and just to be able to have that support. And for the advice y'all gave us, definitely everybody that's either watching now or watches later, go support them and check them out. An amazing podcast, definitely worth a listen. Worth more than that. Can't wait to see what y'all do later down the road. But with that being said, for everybody part of the Experts of Racing Sportscast, for everybody at Fast Lap and their podcast as well, for Vols Fan, Robert Harding, NNR, and everyone else, we want to thank you for joining us this evening.